the fighting between supporters of the man the West recognises as Côte d'Ivoire's leader, Alassane Ouattara, and Laurent Gbagbo, who is clinging to power despite international condemnation. They arrive here dishevelled, tired and in desperate need of care.
We have two types of people, those who only stay for a day and those that stay longer. We try and help them move to safer places.
And with homelessness comes the threat of disease. The International Red Cross fears that the longer this goes on, the higher the chance of disease spreading.
The most urgent needs that we are talking about are linked to health. The need for medicines is also linked to hygiene, which is also linked to the need for shelter.
Most of the fighting, which some fear could spread to civil war, has been in the Ouattara stronghold of Abobo. The sound of constant gunfire and fighting is now a distant memory for the ones that have made it here. For these men and women of God, helping the few that they can is all they can do.
We tell them they can always use this area for their children. We can't abandon them. That's why we come here, so we can protect them and their children.
The refugees here escaped with only what they could carry, and they've got no idea when they can go back or what they will go back to. Imran Khan, Al Jazeera.
Zimbabwe's president has lashed out against the West over sanctions imposed on him. Addressing party members, Robert Mugabe threatened to take over foreign firms in retaliation. He also called for a boycott of overseas goods. The European Union and the United States had earlier imposed a travel ban on Mugabe and his supporters over suspected human rights abuses. To Nigeria now, where more than 1,000 doctors are into their 4th week of strikes. Patients are being left untreated while the doctors in Lagos state hospitals, the country's busiest, demand a pay rise. Yvonne Ndege has more.
A nurse tends to a patient in one of Nigeria's busiest hospitals. She has to because not one doctor is on duty. This is a state-run hospital in Lagos. It normally treats up to 3,000 patients a day. But after strike action by more than 1,000 doctors in state hospitals, it means nurses are on the front line. Despite their care, an untold number of people have died, and more die daily. The doctors are demanding the same salary as their counterparts enjoy working in federal government hospitals. State-employed doctors currently earn a starting salary of $700 a month, nearly 30% less than doctors working in federal hospitals.
We happen to be part of the public. What the public suffers, we suffer. It is because we are suffering. That is why we are lamenting. I mean, you see what happened in Egypt, happening in Libya. People want to be free. Being a civil servant does not make you a slave. So you don't have to be treated like a slave.
Patients seeking medical care can wait days for attention.
Dozens of beds at this hospital lay empty, not because there aren't patients that need treatment, but because patients know that doctors are on strike. And one nurse told us off camera she believes that patients are now going to practitioners of traditional African medicines to get their treatment.
The provision of medical services for Lagos State's 18 million people is huge. The government says it can't afford to bring their wages up to federal standards.
We have resource constraints because they are not the only people. And to me, what has been offered now is almost 90% of what they're asking for. To us, that is not enough to call out a strike action because at the end of the day, it's the people of Lagos State that are suffering. And that's our stand. And it's an appeal to them to consider the plight of the people.
But with the strike in its 4th week, there seems to be no end in sight to the standoff, leading to fears that even more people who can't get treatment will suffer or die. Yvonne Ndege, Al Jazeera, Lagos State, Nigeria.
Tennis superstar Serena Williams may be out of the game for up to a year as she recovers from 2 health scares. The 13-time Grand Slam singles champion is at home recuperating after a blood clot was discovered in her lungs last week. A foot injury has also kept the former world #1 out of action since last year. She hasn't played competitively since winning Wimbledon for the 4th time in July. Apple CEO Steve Jobs made a surprise appearance to unveil the 2nd generation of the popular iPad. Defying media speculation about his health, Jobs took to the stage to promote the new computer, which is described by Apple as thinner and faster than the previous model.
We've been working on this product for a while, and I just didn't want to miss today. So thank you for having me.
You're watching Al Jazeera. These are the stories making headlines. There's been heavy fighting in the Libyan town of Breka. The area was attacked by pro-Gaddafi forces in a major counter-offensive to take back lost territory. But Gaddafi's troops were apparently unable to take control of the oil port. Well, that happened as Gaddafi once again publicly defended himself. Addressing journalists, he played on Western fears by comparing Libya to Somalia.
If Libya doesn't exist anymore, then there will be destruction in the Mediterranean. The gas pipes that pass through the region will be destroyed, and so will the electrical power connection, and bin Laden, the pirates, and the Somalis will come, and the jihad will move from the north of Africa to Europe.
The Arab League says it could impose a no-fly zone over Libya if fighting continues. The group's Secretary General says this action could be taken in coordination with the African Union.
We'll continue consultations on the best way to protect and guarantee the safety and security of the Libyan people and that of the Arab nations. We will not remain idle in light of the bloodshed that the Libyan people are facing, and therefore we may resort to a no-fly zone, and the Arab League and African Union are cooperating in this regard.
At least 2 people have been killed in Yemen during clashes between security forces and protesters calling for reform. Thousands have also been demonstrating once again in the capital Sana'a and the northern city of Saada. Opposition parties have presented the president with a set of proposals they say form a roadmap to departure. President Saleh is said to be considering the plan. Bradley Manning, the soldier accused of leaking thousands of classified U.S. government documents, is facing more charges. The army has filed an additional 22 counts against him, including aiding the enemy. Manning has already been accused of 12 other charges in connection with the material which was published on the WikiLeaks website. 2 U.S. airmen were killed and another 2 servicemen injured when a man armed with a handgun attacked a bus carrying troops at Germany's Frankfurt airport. Police have arrested a 21-year-old man from Kosovo. Microfinancier Mohammed Yunus says he will fight the decision to sack him as head of the Grameen Bank. He was fired by Bangladesh's central bank on Wednesday. It says he violated the country's retirement laws. Nobel laureate Yunus denies the accusation and says he's seeking legal advice. Those are the headlines. Inside Story is next.
No-fly zone, 3 words dominating the discussion over just what to do next in Libya. But shutting down the skies is fraught with issues, political ones, legal ones, not to mention what the Libyan people think about it all. Can a no-fly zone over Libya really help to end the violence? This is Inside Story. Hello, I'm Kamal Santamaria. So there have been